Hey guys, I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and yesterday I showed you an epic QWERTY battle, haha, no pun intended, between the Samsung Epic 4G and the HTC EVO Shift 4G, two awesome devices on Sprint. Well, the fun continues today with a dogfight between the HTC EVO Shift 4G and the T-Mobile G2, both great devices on their respective carriers, both 4G, and actually these are pretty close or closer in terms of specs versus the Epic 4G. Both have 800 MHz next-gen Snapdragon processors, 3.6-inch display, 3.7-inch display, physical QWERTY keyboards, 5-megapixel cameras. They're pretty similar, but in a dogfight, only one can come out on top. Which will it be? We have to watch the video. Special thanks to our PR friends for hooking us up with these, Sprint and T-Mobile, and special thanks to our friends at Best Buy for hooking us up with 4 of these, two for use in our One Paw Bandit giveaway so we can give you phones. When you go into Best Buy Mobile, you walk out working, you don't have to deal with any paperwork or any mail-in rebates, and they'll set you up out the door. Now for that, let's get into the dogfight. Who's going to win? Well, you know what? You have to find out in the video. It starts right now. Two great QWERTY options, two different networks, but when you look at it, they're very, very similar. You have the HTC EVO Shift 4G on Sprint, but HTC device. Then you have the T-Mobile MyTouch 4G made by HTC with a 3.7-inch display. Both have Android 2.2, 3.6-inch, 3.7-inch. Both have, this one's running a customized version of Android 2.2. It's HTC Sense user interface, whereas this is running a near stock build of Android. Both have 5-megapixel cameras, 1400 milliamp battery, 1500 milliamp battery. Otherwise, pretty similar, and both have great physical QWERTY keyboards. The G2 is available for $199.99 at T-Mobile. I've seen it much cheaper on the internet, so be sure to take a look. You know, if you're looking at buying, check Wirefly, check all those third-party sources. This $149.99 at Sprint and at Best Buy Mobile may be cheaper online. Haven't had a chance to look, but both very similar in the specs department. It depends on which carrier you're interested in, but between the two, one's got to win. So let's take let's take a look and see which programs come installed on these devices. On this one, you have the typical Android applications, but in addition, you have things like Amazon MP3. Facebook, which does come pre-installed now, but still it's kind of an external app. Amazon Kindle, some typical Android stuff there. Didn't mean to click that. Let's see what else is that. So then you have the Sprint stuff like NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile, Sprint TV, Sprint Zone, Sprint Hotspot, which is a nice touch. And then you have Telenav GPS Navigator. It's installed on here, and I guess they've changed it from Sprint Navigator to Telenav GPS, but at this point I don't really know why you would use that, even though it is free when you have Google Maps pre-installed, which in my opinion is phenomenal. Then you have HTC's weather application, voicemail, visual voicemail, and YouTube on that device. Now, as I said, this is a near stock build of Android 2.2, so everything from the notifications bar to the menu itself looks a little bit different in terms of functionality and aesthetics. So on this one, you have Amazon MP3 as well. You have Facebook, but then you have every single Google application that they've ever made in their entire life installed on this device. You have Finance, Google Goggles, Google Translate, Latitude, Listen, and then you have some T-Mobile stuff here, My Account, My Device. But a lot of Google installed applications, and that's fine. I mean, it is an Android device, but for those people that want to remove those applications because they may not use them, you can't. All of those apps are pre-installed, and they're unable to be removed. So, maybe frustrating for some that are like, hey, I want to remove these apps to clear up some space, but I can't because they don't let me do it. So let's take a look at the keyboards on both of these devices, physical and virtual, and you can see what they look like side by side. Let's open this one up, go to Messages, and we'll start a new message on this one. We'll tap to add text here. Get it started up. And the comment of this video comes from Sammy the Ninja Panda, where he says, "Holy Mother of Pearl, you type so fast. 4G speed texting." Thank you, Sammy the Ninja Panda. But let's say the Quick Brown Fox. Trying this new thing where I integrate a YouTube comment into every single one of my videos. More on that towards the end of the video. Let's do the small black skunk went to the market. So you can see Island Keys, it's a 4-row QWERTY keyboard, independent space row, which is a nice thing to have. D-pad here, and then you could of course close it and use HTC Sense keyboard, which is one of my favorites on the market. The keys are spaced perfectly, and even though it's a 3.6-inch display, how are you doing? So you can do it and you can type pretty fast. Thanks to that, it's good keyboard. On this one, you have your on-screen. It's the traditional Android keyboard, the Android 2.2 keyboard at least, but there is no multi-touch support as far as I can tell. It doesn't work very well, and it slows me down a little bit. Let's see here. And you don't really see it on camera because I'm a 4G speed texter, but you don't really see it on camera, but there is some lag on this keyboard that is not present on the HTC Sense keyboard. Now, one place I still think the G2 takes the cake. Absolutely the most favorite. Can't talk today. My most favorite physical QWERTY keyboard is the one found in the G2. Out of all the devices on the market, still my favorite. 4-row QWERTY as well. Independent spacebar, automatically alike for me. But you get, you know, the small black skunk went to the bar. So you can see easy to type on, and you can see the keys are slightly raised. They're rubberized, they're very tactile, easy to use, no problems whatsoever there. And you have your dedicated buttons over here like www and .com, your @ button for emails. And then it has this cool function that are called quick keys, and this is one of the few places where it's not stock Android. You click on one. Let's say you click on this one because I've already assigned that one, but let's say I go to Google Translate a lot, for example. I can assign the quick key, and once I click on that, it'll auto-send me without delay to Google Translate. So it's nice to have that there on the physical keyboard, or it's on the physical keyboard, and then there's a widget you can add to the screen as well. We'll go down here and see quick keys, and I can access those from the home screen as well. So very easy to use on both the screen and on the keyboard. Now, while we're on that topic, let's take a look, jump out of messaging and take a look at the actual widgets that come on these devices. HTC Sense, even though both of these are HTC devices, this is running stock Android for the most part. This is running Sense. So you get these widgets with Sense that are some of my favorite in the industry. You have bookmarks, calendar, bookmarks, calculator, calendar, and then you have Android calendar, and they're distinguished between Android and HTC just below the description of the widget. So you can see Facebook is Android, clock is HTC. Then you have the two options if you want the HTC calendar or the Android calendar. But you look at something like, we'll compare them side by side on these. On the widgets on this one, you have the standard analog clock, calendar, Facebook, finance, Google Voice, which comes out of the box in this, news and weather, you know, the typical stuff. But let's take a look at the Android calendar versus the HTC calendar. And in my opinion, Sense really, they just rock it with this calendar. Absolutely fantastic. Versus the stock kind of Android widget, kind of bland, not really that exciting. This one works exceptionally well. And then all of these little things you see, the power controls, 4G access, Bluetooth, your favorites where you can scroll up and down. All of those are HTC Sense-based widgets. That's an HTC Sense-based widget. So to me, it's just cleaner. It's a nice transition for customers that are coming up into a smartphone or people that are new to Android. This, to me, that just looks much more friendly than the T-Mobile G2. Not to say that people won't upgrade, but to me, it just looks much more friendly. So I do happen to enjoy the widgets on that. While we're in here, let's take a look at Gmail while we're on the messaging kick. And even though, let's see here, go to Gmail, go to Moto Blur, and you can see both of these are running the same, the newer version of Gmail, where the header stays at the top regardless of where you're at in the email. So at any point you can scroll up and see who it's from, and then you can click here and either, let's see, trying to hold these in two devices in two hands, reply all on forward from the top. It's pretty cool. And then you can go to the bottom and, or no, I lied, I'm sorry, you can't go to the bottom on this one anymore, but you have the option to archive, delete, and go forward and back. But in terms of that, you know, I'm jumping around a lot, but it made me think, when I was in Gmail, I don't know why it made me think this, but in terms of physical design, you have a very similar physical thing going on here. You have this kind of metal accents around the display on the EVO Shift, and you have the metal accent around the display as well on the T-Mobile G2. 0.01 or 0.1 inch display increase on this one, but still metal accents. The battery door, I have to give them props on this one for the battery door. It's a metal battery door, but it's very easy to remove. All you do is pop that button and it pops right up. Very easy there. So it's a nice balance between metal and plastic that kind of looks like metal, but you have your volume rocker, micro USB charging port, and a camera shortcut button over here. On this one, you don't have the camera shortcut buttons. I have to take points off on that just for not having the shortcut button. Some people don't care, but for me, you know, shaky hands when I'm taking a picture, it does make a difference between being blurry and not being blurry. So, you know, it may not bother you, but it bothers me. On the left side, you have your volume rocker, micro USB charging ports, a very similar design there. When you look at them side by side, there's not a huge size difference. But, you know, I like the design of the EVO Shift a little bit more because, one, I like the hinge on this one a little better. It's that kind of Motorola Droid-ish rough hinge, if you will. So there's nothing I hate more than when I'm holding this and I can kind of hear the hinge flopping around versus the Shift, where it really, you know, it actually takes some work to get the hinge up and down. So I happen to like that. It's a personal preference thing. You may not. This one has the HTC Z hinge, which instead of going up, it actually slides up and over. So you can see like that, bam. Bam, that presents a problem because if you're text messaging in bed or doing anything upside down, the hinge, it does come loose from the actual phone itself. So, you know, might be a problem for you. But otherwise, designs are very similar. 5-megapixel camera on both with flash on the back, and you have your speaker. So design-wise, you know, actually, you know, sans colors and save for the minor things like the optical trackpad here, the design's very similar. I have to give it a slight edge, to me at least, and it's very subjective, but you know, a slight design edge to the EVO Shift, because I think the combination of the design and the way the earpiece looks, it's kind of the way HTC is going with their new devices, the Thunderbolt, the Inspire 4G, and phones of that nature have this new kind of earpiece. So just the design is a little bit more future-proofed versus the G2s.